Hey everybody, Glenn here with another episode of Deviation Sports Cards. Today we're going to do another crack and resub on SGC. So I did one of these back early when I started up the channel. I had taken some SGC cards, both newer and older labels, and submitted them, cracked them out, submitted them to CSG back when they were still using their original grading criteria, and submitted them in to try to debunk the whole theory that CSG was soft on vintage because of Andy Broom's relationship with BVG. Anybody that watched that video, nothing was different or more off than half a grade. So out of the 5 cards that I had submitted, 3 graded higher by half a grade with CSG, and 2 graded exactly the same as SGC. So I wanted to kind of, I do a lot of these, I watch a lot of videos on this kind of stuff, and I view a lot of the Facebook groups and watch a lot of the YouTube videos, and I still kind of get this feeling that a lot of people in the hobby have still got this thought in their head that CSG is soft on vintage, and I just have not seen it. So I thought, you know what, I'm trying to build a collection of certain cards. I'm of course a huge fan of CSG, so I'm getting a lot of stuff put in CSG slabs. So I went out and found 7 cards that I would keep for my PC, obviously, in SGC slabs, all new SGC slabs, to avoid any, back in the day, SGC used to be more strict or less strict or whatever. And we're just going to go ahead and crack them out, automatically put them right into some card savers here, and send them off to CSG and see if new CSG grading criteria still kind of holds that plus or minus half a grade that we saw on the original video. So, and one of the things I did this time was not only did I make sure I got all of the same label, but I also got cards from different decades. So we can kind of see, okay, throughout the different decades, is there a greater difference in cards from the 50s versus the cards from the 60s or 70s, so on and so forth. And I also tried to get a range of grades. Nothing like crazy low, because if I'm going to keep it and put it in my PC, I'm obviously not looking for crazy low grades. But anyways, so just as a note, the 5 cards I did in the original video, 4 of those were from the 50s, 2 1950 Bowman, 157 Topps, 159 Topps, and 161 Fleer. So these are all going to be on top of that. So the first card, and you'll notice that I did crack the corner off of all of these, but these are still in their cases. I'm going to have to break them apart here on screen, but I did try to break the corners off just to make this go a little bit faster. So the first card here is a 1951 Bowman, card number 1, Weldon Humble, for the Browns, obviously. This ended up getting a SGC 4.5. So we're going to go ahead and break this sucker out. And you can see I've already kind of got it started here to make this video go a little bit faster. I'm going to go ahead and pop that off. Then you can see we'll hold on to this label for the reveal video. Take the tucks off. Which, this is something I always wondered about these CSG tuxes. If you've ever cracked, SGC tucks. If you've ever cracked one of these SGC cards, this is like a hard plastic. And I always kind of wondered, especially on cards that maybe move around in there, if as the card is rubbing or bouncing off of these hard plastic edges, is it potentially causing damage to the edges? I don't know for sure. Never really noticed anything, I guess, but just a thought that ran through my head. So we're going to go ahead and get this off of here. Stick it right in the sleeve. Get a little tab on it. You guys have probably seen me do this before. I always do this on all cards I submit. to help the grader get it out of the card saver without damaging the card. We're going to slide this into a card saver. Make sure I don't damage it in any way. Okay, there we go. Humble. First card up. Okay, second card up. We have a 1955 Cleveland Brown, obviously. Kenny Cons, card number 115. This card is a SGC 7.5. So again, we'll go ahead and crack this sucker out of here. SGC cases, in my opinion, by far the easiest to crack, followed closely by PSA. You got a 7.5 on that. Stick that up here. Put this tux off. Get the card off the slab there. And actually, you know what? You have to give me a second here, guys. Forgot these 55s were oversized. We need to get a vintage sleeve out for this. Get it in there. I know this is kind of like makes for not very fun video watching, but I want to do the whole process on camera. That way people can see that I'm not tampering with these in any way. I'm not cleaning them. I'm not giving any additional prep as I send them to CSG. Obviously, my goal here is to show that CSG is not soft on vintage. So doing something that would improve the grade after I take it out of this SGC slab would be kind of counterproductive, at least from the purpose of the videos anyways. Okay, next one up, I have a 1967 Philadelphia 193 Browns versus Giants. This was Leroy Kelly's rookie year. And these cards are just notoriously hard to find in high grade because of the way, just the cuts, a lot of centering issues, lots of chipping and edge corner issues. So this got a 7.5 from CSG or SGC. Go ahead and crack this sucker out of there. Keep that 7.5 for the reveal. Tucks off of there. Get our card off. Stick the sucker right into the sleeve. Tagged up. And another card saver. There we go. Number 3. Okay, so that takes care of the 50s and the 60s. Next up, we have a 1979 Topps Ozzie Newsome rookie. You can see this got a near mint 8. I actually already have a graded copy of this in CSG. But it was, I believe it graded a 7. So this would be an upgrade for me if this at least crosses over to an 8. Tucks off of there. Let's see, I've never been a fan of SGC slabs. I mean, the tux to me, I could take it or leave it. I don't dislike it. I don't love it. But the case quality to me, I don't know. I don't like the cases. I think they feel cheap. I don't like the shape of them. I don't like the way they stack. I don't like how big they are. I'm not a fan. But there you go. There's Ozzie. Next up, we have, this is kind of a unique card. I've never seen this before. This is a 1981 TCMA Jim Brown. Got an 8.5 from CSG, or SGC, good lord, I keep getting them mixed up. So I thought this was a pretty cool card, pretty like unique card. I have a little bit of a registry that I'm working on for Jim Brown, so I thought this would be kind of a cool, kind of oddball card to put in my registry. So you can see this got a 8.5. Tucks off. Take this sucker. It's nicely centered. Nice shape, good color for a card this old. Even on the back, you know, these all white backs sometimes can look pretty dingy. Get that up in there. And did I say 7 cards when we started this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, sorry, I only have 6 cards. And then the last card that I got is another historically difficult card to get in good grade. All these 91 Pro Set cards are difficult grades. So this Bill Belichick rookie got a 9. I've actually already got a CSG 9 of the Pro Line Portraits version. So that's why I went ahead and picked this one up. You see, I already kind of had that one almost all the way cracked out. So this got a SGC 9. So these ones were just notoriously hard due to edge wear. Chipping on the edges was a huge thing with these Pro Set cards. Very difficult to get in high grade. So happy, I guess, if this one comes back as a 9. Actually probably wouldn't cry too much if this one actually went up a little bit. This is so hard to find. Okay, so there you have it, guys. So these are my 6 cards that I'm going to be sending in, and we're going to see how they do. So like I said, I got a Bill Belichick rookie from 91, Jim Brown TCMA from 81. Go ahead and get my zoom straightened out here. We got our Ozzie Newsome from 1979 rookie card. Our team card from 67. Kenny Cons from 55. And Weldon Humble from 51. So there you go, guys. We'll get them out there. When I get them back, I'll put the end on this video, and we'll see how we did. See if, in fact, new CSG is soft on vintage from, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Or do we get similar results to what we got with old CSG on the original 5 cards? So, see you guys on the flip side. Thanks. All right, guys, welcome back. This is the second half of the second CSG crossover video that I'm going to do. I got a couple, I guess, unfortunates here. So this Kenny Cons, 1955. You guys saw me in the first half of the video crack this out of an SGC slab. It had gotten an SGC 7.5. You can see, obviously, that it is not graded. This is what I got back with the card. You can see that it had been graded, and then unfortunately it does not fit in CSG's holder. So they ripped the grade off and sent it back to me as a does not fit holder. I've had this happen to me a couple times on some of these vintage cards. Unfortunately, CSG hasn't gotten that fixed yet and got holders that will accommodate these cards. So who knows, maybe I'll hold on to this and wait until they get a holder that will accommodate it, and I'll send it back in. So I guess we'll never know. Well, maybe not never, but for right now, we don't know what this card would get. Second card, I'm not even going to include in this. So this is a 1991 Pro Set Bill Belichick. You guys saw me crack it out in the first one. You notice when I did it that the case seemed really loose. It had graded a SGC 9. which is really great for a 91 Pro Set card. Super hard to get these in that kind of condition. This came back at 6.5, and I could not figure out why until I saw that. Now, I have no idea where that came from. It did not happen when I was breaking the card out of the case. You could see if you watch the first half of this video, obviously, that I snipped this corner here and cracked it from this side. So had I done any damage, I would have probably damaged, somewhere in the middle of the card or over here. Definitely not coming in like this at an angle. So I don't know if I maybe did that in shipping, or if it was done in shipping, or if it was done at CSG somewhere. I really don't want to blame them because I don't know. I guess anything like that could have happened. It could have been anything. But I guess the point of it is I'm obviously not going to include this in this evaluation because it's clearly not a representation of SGC versus CSG, because that, I'm sure, it wasn't there when SGC graded it, and it clearly was when CSG did. So unfortunately, we dropped 2 cards out right off the get, but we still have 4 cards to look at from different eras. So this first one is the 1951 Bowman Humble. Hard card to get in good condition. You can see here I got an SGC 4.5, and CSG ended up grading this an excellent 5. So we ended up going up a half a grade on this 51. So a little bit higher than what CSG did, but nothing horrendous as far as I'm concerned. Next one up is the 1967 Philadelphia. So they mentioned in the first half of this video, I tried to kind of like go from different decades. Some of this stuff I realized was not vintage. 67, I would say, is definitely vintage. The 79, 80, the 91 Belichick, obviously, wouldn't be considered vintage by most people's standards. I know some people are saying that the 80s are finally getting into that vintage area, but most people just still consider that junk wax. So anyways, this was a Philadelphia 67, hard year to get a good graded card in. This is kind of the poor man's Leroy Kelly rookie card. This is graded at SGC 7.5, and it came back from CSG a 6.5. So we ended up actually losing an entire grade on this particular card from CSG, which is kind of surprising, honestly. I am not on the bandwagon that CSG is soft on vintage. I think I've done probably more research than most, so it's not just my opinion. But I usually don't see a downgrade on vintage of 1 grade. So I was kind of surprised by this. Now, I did look to make sure, there was no weird damage to this card that would have brought it down to that level like there was on that Belichick. I did not see anything anywhere close to that I thought would have done that. So I think this is legit, just got graded a full grade lower. I'm not real sure why, like I said. Maybe they're just harder on those 67 Philadelphias than SGC is, but there you have it. Okay, next up is our 79 Topps Ozzie Newsome. Anyone that's watched some of my old videos knows this is my 3rd attempt at this. The 2 I sent in that were raw, myself, both got 6s, which is unfortunate. This one was an SGC 8 and came back from CSG a near mint 8. So exact same grade is what it got from SGC. So this will obviously replace the 6 that I currently have in my collection. And ultimately, I'd like to get this in a 9 or 10, but this is a hard card to find in that kind of grade. I could probably get a 9, I would imagine, but finding a 10, I think, is going to be extremely difficult. So overall, happy with the 8. Glad it crossed over from one 8 to another 8. And then the last card, unfortunately, that I have, because those other 2 got damaged, this is a 1981 TCMA Jimmy Brown. This is from 81. You can see this obviously isn't like a licensed product from, like a Topps or a Philadelphia or anything like that. So, I got a wide variety here. We got a Bowman, a Philadelphia, a Topps, and then a TCMA here. This got an SGC 8.5 and came back from CSG also a near mint plus 8.5. So there you have it. Unfortunately, I was hoping that 55 would actually come back graded so that I could do like a real fair comparison to CSG or SGC to CSG on that older vintage card to go along with the 51 and the 67 here. But what I would like to show is this is actually my experience thus far with these crossovers. So you can see here, I sent in a 50 Jim Martin and a 50 Tony Adamley. Both had 7s from CSG, SGC. Both ended up coming, one came back a 7.5, one a 7. So about a half grade higher on one, same grade on the other two. And then these other 350 cards I sent in that actually got graded all came back a half grade higher. So I see a lot of videos out there with people, you know, sharing their opinions, I'll say, on what they thought a card would get and what they thought PSA would grade a card, or what they thought CSG would grade a card, or SGC would grade a card, and saying that, oh, CSG soft. And I think a lot of that commentary is not based in actual an experience like this, where you're taking cards, cracking them out, sending them in. It's more just to do with the fact that people know Andy Broom used to work at Beckett. He used to be part of the BVG group. They know the BVG was softer on vintage by probably 1 to 2 grades compared to SGC, which is, I'd say, widely considered to be the best vintage option. And just because he's associated with CSG, I think everybody's kind of like, oh, well, they're going to be soft on vintage. And basically what I'm seeing here, again, it's not a huge sample size, but again, I'd say it's a bigger sample size than what most are doing, because I'm actually taking SGC cards, cracking them, and resubbing them, as opposed to just looking at my raw cards and saying, oh, I think that's a 5. I think PSA or SG or CSG would give that a 5, and then I send it to CSG and it gets a 6, so clearly they're soft. These are actual cards that were cracked out of SGC slabs. So I would say that there is some evidence that on anything pre-1960, CSG is maybe about a half grade softer than SGC. Obviously 4 to 5, so it's not a huge sample size, but 80% of the cards I sent in came back a half grade better. So I would say there is a little bit of information there to support that maybe they're slightly easier on pre-1960 cards than SGC. But then when you look at the 61, the 67, the 79, the 81, with the exception of this oddball here, which could just be, you know, again, a grader with the 67. 67s are so hard. Everything came out even with the exception of that one. So I noticed this now that I've done this second video, and I found it really interesting that I noticed this trend. So I think I'm going to continue to try to do this. Do another SGC break here in the future, send them in as a resub. Hopefully they all get graded or don't get damaged. And we could get a real fair comparison one to the other. And I could just keep building off of this, but I'm curious now. I think I'm going to target maybe a couple 50s cards and then target maybe a couple from the 60s and 70s. Just to see if this trend kind of continues from one crossover evaluation to another. You know, is there really some legitimacy here to the fact that pre-1960, at least 1960 football, you know, 50 to 60 football, we're seeing a half a grade higher than SGC, whereas post-1960, we're seeing relatively comparable grades with the exception of one outlier at the moment. So I think that might be what I do on this next one. But overall, I'm just really trying to show people that this is not an opinion. You know, obviously, anybody that watches my channel knows that I prefer CSG. I have lots of modern, ultra-modern, junk wax, vintage cards that are graded with CSG. So they're my grader of choice. So my bias is clear. But I'm trying to debunk this whole Andy Broom is a member of CSG, therefore CSG must be soft on vintage narrative that seems to be out there in the hobby that I watch lots of videos on, because I am not seeing evidence of that at all. And I think it's better to do a actual crack and resub to get factual data as opposed to just, well, I've graded thousands of cards and I think I'm the expert and I think this would have gotten a X grade with PSA or a Y grade with SGC. So the fact that it got this with a CSG means they're soft. And I just don't think that holds a lot of water. So I'm going to keep doing these and keep, I guess, fighting the good fight. And hopefully people will hear the message that I'm sending out and feel comfortable sending their vintage cards to CSG, knowing that they're not getting like a full grade or 2 grades higher than what they're going to get from what's considered the industry standard in SGC when it comes to vintage. And then the PSA comparison, I won't even get into that because to me that's completely laughable. But anyways, hope you liked the video. If you like the content, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks a lot.